Escape to the war room. They took the emergency stairs. 5 agate led, bleeding freely, giving short directions. Outside the ministry, the protest verse was being sung Mahit's own words, 3 seagrass poem, taken up by voices in the street. Released. I am a spear in the hands of the sun. A sunlit platoon blocked the plaza exit. 10 officers, shock sticks out. Algorithm adjusted, they moved with the eerie synchronization Mahit had noticed before, as if their bodies were being adjusted by the city itself. Information ministry is secured, Mahit called out, pitching her voice to sound takes Kalanli, not stationer, not barbarian. Yskandra's accentless precision. We were in administration. There was a shooting. Internal conflict. Please, we need to get to safety. The platoon leader looked at her. At 3 seagrass. At the bleeding 5 agate. Internal conflict, one of the officers echoed. Yes. A man with a flower pen. He had a projectile weapon. That gave them pause. Projectile weapons were a very particular kind of illegal, the kind that suggested premeditation, not riot escalation. Go, the platoon leader said. Stay off the main streets. They went. 19 ADS's offices had been transformed. The sleek administrative suite was now a war room, maps and troop movements on the walls, analysts at every station, the quiet hum of a government trying not to collapse. 5 agate walked straight through the chaos, wounded and determined, and when she reached 19 ADS, she said, 22 Graphite is dead, 6 helicopter killed him. He also killed a judiciary investigator, 12 Azalea. 19 ADS went very still. Then she turned to Mahit. Her face, that beautiful, controlled face, was flickering with something that might have been grief. You're a prize, Mahit Dzmare, she said softly. What a price I am apparently willing to pay for you. Mahit didn't answer as Mahit. She let Yskandr step forward, let his posture settle into her shoulders, let his smile curve her mouth. You killed me, she said in his voice. You let 10 Pearl keep me out of the Emperor's mind, and yet I miss you anyway. 19 ADS's flush was like forged metal glowing and going out. Yskandr, yes, both of him. Mahit held the posture a moment longer, let ADS see the man she had loved and let die, then stepped back into her own voice. The surgery worked. I carry everything now, everything he was, everything you did. You asked me once why I kept you alive and not Yskandr, 19 ADS said. The words came slowly, as if she were walking across ice. He was dying anyway, the Imago machine was killing him, the same as it might kill you, and he wanted to give the Emperor immortality. He would have put the machine in 6 Directions' hands if had lived. 10 Pearls saw it. I saw it. We made a choice. You made a choice for your Emperor. Yes, I always do. A pause. The second reason is that you weren't him. You were young and lost, and carrying a broken imago that should have worked, and I couldn't watch another death. Not that close. Not again. Mahit felt Yskandr absorb this. Somewhere in the tangled double exposure of her consciousness, the dead man was reckoning with the woman who had let him die. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was understanding. 30 Larkspurs sent the flower, Mahit said, to kill me before I could give 6 Direction an imago machine. He's afraid the Emperor might actually get the immortality has been promised. Yes, and 8 of your officers are dead in Belltown. 1 Lightning's legions are in the streets. An annexation fleet is heading toward my home station. Mahit stepped closer. I have information that can stop it. Intelligence from Lsel. There is an alien threat, real, provable, with coordinates that makes the annexation war illegal under your own laws. 8 Loop already made the argument. Insecure borders invalidate conquest. If 6 Direction faces a war on 2 fronts, the aliens and a succession war, he has to choose peace with Lsel. 19 ADS's expression shifted, from grief to calculation. What kind of alien threat? The kind that doesn't think, that only consumes. 2 scout ships lost at the Anhamamit Gate. A freighter captain reports dozens of 3-ringed Predator vessels massing 3 jump gates away. Mahit met her eyes. Yskandr was sent to take Skalan 20 years ago because Tarats knew this was coming. He wanted Tayskalin as a shield. You can still be a shield, but only if you stop pointing your swords at us. And the coordinates? I know them. I memorized them. Mahit tapped her temple. They're in here. Your Emperor wants an imago line? Carrying more useful memory than any machine he could build. 19 ADS looked at her, and for a moment, Mahit saw her as Yskandr had seen her. A woman who loved impossibly, who served power with absolute clarity, who had let a man die rather than risk an emperor's obsessions. "It'll take you to sixth direction," she said. An aide burst in before she could continue. His face was white. "Your Excellency, the Yaholek's forces are in the city center, marching on the palace." Civilian deaths are confirmed. The instigators, they're wearing purple flowers. 30 Larkspur's agitators are pushing the soldiers forward. Mobilize what remains. Close the palace gates. Fry. Get me a secure line to the bunker. 19 ads was already moving. And get 5 agate to the explanadle before she bleeds out on my floor. The blood oath. 3 Seagrass stood in the corner of the war room, her cloud hook gone, her hands empty. Mahit went to her. "I'm sorry about 12 Azalea." Later, 3 Seagrass's voice was cracked. "Remind me to grieve later. Right now, I want the people who killed him to lose. Can your alien threat make that happen?" "Maybe, and more." Mahit lowered her voice. Taritz's plan was always to use Takes Galan as a crash against the aliens. "If I can convince Sixth Direction to reroute the annexation fleet to fight the real war instead of a profitable one, then your empire stays intact and my station survives." "That's not a guarantee. It's the best gamble we have." Mahit hesitated. "There's something we need to do first. For Adzi, for Sixth Direction, for us." The word was Yautl, blood oath. A Takes-Galanli tradition, ancient, binding until death. Yskandra's memories supplied the ritual. Cut the forefinger, mix blood with those who swore alongside you, vow loyalty not to the empire but to the person of the emperor. 19 ads produced a brass bowl. "May his brilliance Sixth Direction reign until he no longer breathes," 3 Seagrass said. She cut her finger with a small knife. The blood welled and dripped into the bowl. Mahit did the same. "May his brilliance Sixth Direction reign until he no longer breathes." 19 ads was last. Her blood joined theirs in the brass bowl. "Reign until he no longer breathes." The bowl caught the light from the war room maps. 2 women and an Ezuakat, sworn to a dying emperor and a throne 6 hours from falling. "It'll take you to him," 19 ads said. "The bunker. Palace North. There's a secure passage. Yskandr probably knows it." "I do," Yskandr said inside Mahit's mind. "A different one than the ministry path. This one goes through the old sun temples." And Mahit ambassador, killer, woman with 2 dead men in her head, picked up the brass bowl and followed the Ezuasuaket out of the war room, 3 Seagrass at her side, into tunnels lit by the faint gold of sacrifice chambers. Jactor. The city was burning. This was finally the war Yskandr had been sent to start. Only Mahit meant to end it differently. He had 20 years business as usual, Yskandr said. "You might get longer, or much shorter. That too." Above them, the sky was turning the color of smoke. Episode 5. The Spear and the Sun. The tunnel smelled of old stone and older blood. Mahit followed 19 ads through corridors carved before Takes Galan was an empire, before the city was a city, when these chambers beneath Palace North had been sun temples where priests opened veins and read futures in the spill. The walls were lined with faded glyphs: sacrifice, renewal, the spear unstoppable, and every 30 paces they passed through another security checkpoint. The first checkpoint was sunlit. Standard palace guard, cloud hooks gleaming at their temples. They recognized 19 ads immediately and waved her through. The second checkpoint was information ministry analysts with tired eyes and sidearms they clearly hadn't been trained to use. One of them asked 3 Seagrass for her cloud hook, and when she said Shed already surrendered it at the ministry, the analyst made a note on a hatapad with shaking fingers. The third checkpoint was different. These guards wore no cloud hooks. Their heads were bare, their eyes unaugmented. They checked identities with paper and ink, with passwords spoken aloud, with the old methods that no algorithm could corrupt. One lightning's influence, Mahit understood, reached through the city's neural infrastructure. Anything connected could be turned, anything augmented could be seen. "His brilliance is expecting you," the guard captain said. She was a woman of perhaps 60, her face lined in ways Takes Galan Litzlam, usually erased with medical intervention. She had chosen to age. "The Ezasuakat may enter. The Asakrita." She glanced at 3 Seagrass, "and the ambassador will require escort." "They're with me," 19 ads said. "They are armed with information, Your Excellency. That is the most dangerous weapon in this bunker. Then you understand why they must come." The captain held 19 ads' gaze for 3 long seconds. Then she stepped aside. The final door was blast steel, 2 handspans thick, set into the living rock. It opened on silent hydraulics, and Mahit stepped through into the last stronghold of the Yskandr Empire. The room was smaller than she had expected. A circular chamber, maybe 15 paces across, lit by soft amber lamps that mimicked sunlight but couldn't quite manage it. A couch. A low table with a carafe of water. A wall screen showing troop movements, red for one lightning's legions, blue for palace forces, the red pressing inward from 3 directions. And the emperor, 6 directions, sat propped against cushions, his body wrapped in a robe of imperial gold that should have made him look regal and instead made him look like a man being consumed by fabric. His skin was gray, not the gray of exhaustion, but the gray of systems failing, of blood moving too slowly through vessels that had given up. Bruises marked the insides of both elbows, the kind left by repeated injections. Mahit had seen bodies like this before, on Lsel in the final weeks before the imago machine was removed and the person became memory. 6 direction was dying, but his eyes sunk deep in their sockets, ringed with shadow, were absolutely clear. They fixed on Mahit the moment she entered, and she felt the weight of an intelligence that was running on pure will, the body already lost, the mind refusing to follow. "Ambassador Dzmare," he said. His voice was a dry rustle. "You've brought me a war. I've brought you intelligence, your brilliance, not the war that was already on its way. I've brought you a reason to stop it." Mahit knelt, not the Ebrekti pose this time, just a simple obeisance. 3 seagrass knelt beside her. 19 ads remained standing, her bone-white suit still smeared with 5 agates blood, her face unreadable. "Lsel Station has information regarding a threat to Yskandr security, a threat that makes the annexation of our sector strategically inadvisable. Strategically inadvisable." The emperor's cracked lips curved. "You sound like 8-loop. 8-loop made the legal argument, in making the practical one." Mahit lifted her head. "There are alien vessels massing 3 jump gates from the Anamemet gate. None sentient, predatory. They've already destroyed 2 of our scout ships. Our intelligence suggests a coordinated incursion within months. If your annexation fleet proceeds toward Bardzervand, it will leave your flank exposed to a threat you don't understand and can't negotiate with." The silence stretched. On the wall screen, a red marker moved another fraction closer to the palace. The Imagaline 6 directions said, "You've come with information, but you haven't come with what I asked for." "Here it is," Yskandr's voice said inside Mahit's skull. "The pivot. He always pivots. Everything is a negotiation. I know what he wants. He wants to live. It's the most dangerous thing an emperor can want." 19 ads stepped forward. "Your brilliance. The ambassador has undergone surgery. She carries Yskandra's full memory, now both versions, the one sent to us and the one she brought. The imago integration has succeeded, but she is not him. She is not a vessel for anyone's continuity. I am aware," 6 directions said, "of what she is." His eyes hadn't left Mahit's face. "Come closer." Mahit rose and crossed the chamber. The closer she got, the more she could smell him, the sweet, sharp odor of metabolizing organs, the faint chemical tang of whatever stimulants were keeping his heart beating. She stopped an arm's length from the couch. Closer. She knelt again, this time near enough that he could have touched her. 6 direction lifted one hand. It did not shake. That was the terrifying thing, that in this failing body his control remained absolute, and cupped her cheek. His palm was fever hot, the same heat she had felt when she first met him at the ballroom, when Yskandra's oxytocin response had flooded her nervous system. Now she felt it again, doubled. Yskandra's love, Yskandra's longing, the neurochemical ghost of a man who had lain with this emperor and bargained for his people's survival. She let Yskandr lean into the touch, let her eyes close in a slow, deliberate flutter his gesture, his intimacy, performed in her body. Then she opened her eyes, straightened her spine, and pulled back. "Your brilliance," she said. "He loved you. I have met you 3 times. That is not the same thing." The emperor's hand hung in the air for a moment before he lowered it. "Besides," Mahit continued, "I don't have an imago machine for you. Even if I wanted to give you one, which I don't, the device was surgically removed from my brainstem by an unlicensed mechanic in Belltown 6. Its nanocircuits were deliberately blown before I left Lsel. Sabotage. The hardware is damaged. And building a new one, she paused, calculated would take months. Materials we don't have on Lsel, a neurosurgeon we can't spare, a subject whose subject, 19 Adzi interrupted. You mean victim, I mean subject. The imago line is consensual or it's meaningless. Yskandr chose it, I chose it. Your emperor is asking for something he can't buy or steal. It has to be given. 6 directions eyes move from Mahit to 19 ads, then back again. You are not what I expected. Neither is this war. Neither is your rebellion. Your brilliance, I came here prepared to negotiate. You want an imago line? I want Lsel Station to survive. Right now, under the current circumstances, neither of us is in a position to get what we want. But I have a proposal that might keep us both alive long enough to try. The counter strategy. She laid it out piece by piece, the way she had rehearsed in the ground car, the way Yskandra's memories helped her shape into Takes Kalanli rhetoric. One lightning's power, she explained, rested on a single claim, that he could protect the empire from its enemies, that the annexation war was necessary and just, and that he was the commander to win it. If the war was illegal, as 8-Loop had already argued, and if there was a larger threat that one lightning couldn't face, as Lsel's intelligence proved, then his acclamation would collapse. You need to make a broadcast, Mahit said, not from the throne room, from the Sun Temple, a ritual address, the kind that hasn't been given in 100 years. You announce that the annexation war is suspended, pending investigation of an existential threat to the empire. You elevate 8-Loop's legal challenge into imperial policy. You name one lightning as a failed protector, not a usurper, not yet, just a general who can't defend against what's coming. What on a Potter? And then, the emperor's voice was a thread. Then you name a successor, publicly, irrevocably, someone who can negotiate with Lsel, who knows the alien intelligence, who has the political capital to unite the ministries. She looked at 19 ads. Someone who already has a blood oath from 2 citizens and an ambassador. 19 ads went very still. You want me to make her emperor, 6 Direction said. I want you to make her regent for 8 Antidote. She's already Izuazuakat. She already commands the information ministry or what's left of it. She's seen the alien intelligence. Shez sworn to your reign. Mahit met his eyes, and she let Yskandr die rather than give you an imago machine. She has better judgment than anyone else in your court. The silence in the bunker was absolute. Even the wall screen seemed to pause, the red markers frozen, the whole empire holding its breath. You are asking me, 6 Direction said slowly, to admit that I am dying, that I cannot protect my people, that I need a successor who is not my clone, not my chosen heir, but my servant. I'm asking you to do what Yskandr wanted you to do 15 years ago. And choose the empire over yourself. The emperor's hand moved again, not to Mahit's face this time, but to his own chest, pressing against the robe where his heart labored beneath failing ribs. 19 ads, he said. Do you accept this? 19 ads knelt, her blood-stained suit pooled around her on the stone floor. I serve your brilliance, in whatever capacity you require. That is not an answer. She lifted her head. Her face was wet, not weeping, just wet, as if some internal pressure had finally cracked its seal. I accept. I will be your regent. I will protect 8 Antidote. I will negotiate with Lsel. Her voice broke, I will do what I have always done, serve you, even past death. Then it's decided. 6 Direction let his hand fall. Well, broadcast from the Temple of the Sun Ascendant. It's still connected to the newsfeed relays. The algorithm won't reach there, it's too old, too sacred, and the symbolism will be understood. Mahit felt Yskandra's presence surge, not triumph, not relief, but something quieter. Recognition. Has choosing the ritual, has choosing to make it matter. What does that mean? Fort 2017. It means has going to die, has choosing how. Before Mahit could ask what he meant, the emperor was speaking again. Ambassador Dzmare, you will record a statement. Your government's intelligence, your government's warning. It will be part of the broadcast. Lsel will be seen as an ally, not a conquest. Do you understand what you're agreeing to? She understood. The Alliance Tarets had always wanted Teyskalan as a shield against the alien threat, but on different terms. Not as a trap, as a choice. I understand. Then go. The attendants will prepare you. The broadcast begins in 1 hour. The kiss. The preparation room was a converted storage chamber, bare stone walls, a mirror, a basin of water, a couch that had probably been dragged down from some abandoned office. Mahit sat on the couch and tried very hard not to feel like a tool that had just been sharpened. She had told her secrets again to the recording cameras, speaking in the clear diplomatic Tace Galanli that Yskandra's memories lent her. The alien threat, the coordinates, the desperate, calculated bluff of a stationer counselor who had spent 20 years betting on empire against empire. She had lied by omission. She hadn't mentioned Teretz's hope that Taskalan would be destroyed, and each lie had felt like a weight added to the pile she was already carrying. "You did well," Yskandr said. "Better than I would have. You'd have given him the imago machine. I'd have tried. You didn't. That's the difference." The door opened. 3 seagrass stepped through, closed it behind her, and stood with her back against the stone. She looked terrible. The composed Asicreta who had met Mahit at the shuttle dock how many days ago? 4, 5, was gone, replaced by a woman with blood on her jacket, a bruise spreading along her jaw, and eyes that had seen her oldest friend shot dead 6 hours ago. Her cloud hook was gone. Her hands were empty. She was shaking. "I keep thinking," she said, "about what you asked me when we made the poem. You said, if you've never been in love with one of them, why are you doing this?" And I didn't answer. I deflected. I made it about politics. 3, I was in love with him. Her voice cracked on the past tense. 12, Azalea, not the way the poems describe it. Not grand, not epic, but he was mine. He was my person. I've known him since we were children in the Siresh. He chose to become a judiciary investigator so he could stay in the city with me instead of going off planet like had planned. Recorded to Megar Sovely. He kissed my temple and called me Reed and never asked for anything except that I be happy. She pressed her palm against her mouth, hard. And now he's dead, and I haven't stopped. I haven't even stopped. Mahit stood, crossed the room, took 3 seagrass hand away from her mouth and held it. "You're not supposed to stop. That's what Yskandr keeps telling me. You keep moving until you can't, and then you move some more, and eventually you get to a place where you can breathe. I don't want to breathe. I want 3 seagrasses." Free hand came up, hesitated, then touched Mahit's cheek the way the Emperor had touched it, but nothing like the Emperor. Tentative, asking, "I want something that isn't grief. For 5 minutes. Is that terrible? No, I'm not TX Kalanli enough right now. I'm not civilized. I'm not anything except tired and angry and..." She stopped. Swallowed. "If I'd met you at court, if you were one of us, I'd have wanted to do this just the same." She kissed her. It was slow and careful and nothing like the frantic impulse of adrenaline or the desperate comfort of shared danger. 3 seagrass kissed like she was memorizing something, like this moment was a text she meant to carry with her past the end of the world. Her lips tasted of salt and the faint metallic tang of dried blood. Her hand on Mahit's cheek was trembling. Mahit kissed her back. Let her eyes close. Let herself open as if she were one of the lotus flowers in the palace gardens, the ones that floated on still water and bloomed at dawn, improbably beautiful in the middle of a dying empire. When they broke apart, 3 seagrass pressed her forehead against Mahit's. "I don't know what happens next," she whispered. "Neither do I. Yskandr watching?" "Yes," Yskandr said, "and if you hurt her, he'll find a way to hunt you specifically." But all Mahit said was, "He approves." 3 seagrass laughed a wet, broken sound and pulled back, wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "We should probably be presentable. The Emperor is about to change everything." "Let him," Mahit said. "We've already changed enough." The Emperor's Sacrifice. They watched the broadcast from the antechamber of the Temple of the Sun Ascendant, standing shoulder to shoulder before a wall screen that showed the feed in real time. The temple was a cylinder of white stone, open to the sky. The first light of dawn was just beginning to wash over the rim, turning the walls from gray to gold. At the center, on a raised dais marked with the blood channel grooves of 1,000 years of sacrifice, 6 Direction stood in his imperial robes. He was not propped up. He was not supported. He stood on his own feet. "Has been saving it," Yskandr said. "Every last heartbeat. For this. Everything left in the dying machine of his body, poured into one final act." Behind him, in shadow, 19 ads waited, dressed in white, holding a blade. My people, the emperor said, and his voice filled the temple, filled the news feeds, filled every screen in the city, from the burning plazas to the barricaded ministries. I have ruled you for 40 years. I have expanded our borders. I have kept our peace. I have failed to provide an heir. He paused. The dawn light caught the gold thread of his robe and made him blaze. Today I am presented with two threats. One from within a general who would take my throne before my body is cold. One from without an enemy that does not think, does not speak, does not negotiate. An enemy my annexation fleet was not prepared to face. An enemy that has already killed citizens of our allies. Allies, Mahit thought. He called us allies. It's done. I have received intelligence from the ambassador of Lsel Station, Wells. This intelligence will be made available to all ministries. It describes a non-human threat massing beyond our borders. In light of this threat, the annexation of Bardsravand is suspended. The fleet will be rerouted for defensive positioning. On the wall screen, the red markers were stuttering. One lightning's advance had paused. His soldiers, Mahit realized, were also watching this broadcast. They had probably stopped in the streets to watch. 8 Loop has argued that the annexation war was illegal. 6 Direction continued. She was correct. We do not conquer when our borders are insecure. We do not expand when we cannot defend. One lightning, and here his voice hardened, cannot protect you. He cannot protect the empire. He has never won a major engagement. He has never faced an enemy he couldn't bribe or overwhelm. The threat that comes for us now cannot be bribed. It cannot be overwhelmed. It can only be fought by an empire that is unified, not divided by civil war. He lifted his hand, and 19 Adsi stepped forward into the light. The blade in her hands was obsidian, the traditional sacrificial knife, sharp enough to cut spirit from flesh. I name 19 Ads as regent for my designated heir, 8 Antidote. She will hold the throne until he comes of age. She has sworn to protect this empire. She has my trust, my authority, and my blood. The emperor took the knife. Released, he said, and his voice rang in the stone temple, rang through every speaker in the burning city. I am a spear in the hands of the sun. He cut. The first stroke opened his left wrist, the second, his right, the third, with precision that must have cost him everything, cut across both femoral arteries the old ritual pattern, the death of emperors, the blood sacrifice that sanctified a succession. He dropped to his knees on the dais, and the blood ran down the channels cut in the stone, and the dawnlight caught it and turned it gold. 19 Ads caught the knife from his failing hand. Her white suit was streaked with red. She held the blade high, and her voice, when she spoke, was clear and cold and absolutely steady. Be calm. Order is a flower blooming at dawn, and dawn is breaking now. She knelt beside the emperor's body, placed the knife on the dais, rose again, her face wet with tears and blood and dawnlight. The emperor is dead. Long live the emperor. On the wall screen, the red markers of one lightning's legions began to retreat. 3 Seagrass exhaled a long, shuddering breath that she might have been holding since the ministry, since the shooting, since 12 Azalea fell. Mahit reached for her hand and held it. What have I set in motion? She thought. What had to be set? Yskandr answered. What was always going to happen? He was dying either way. He chose the death that meant something. And Ads? Ads holds the throne now. That changes everything. Below them, in the temple of the Sun Ascendant, the new emperor of Teyskalan was washing her predecessor's blood from her hands. Somewhere in the city, the protest song was still being sung, the same words 6 Direction had spoken with his last breath. Released, I am a spear in the hands of the sun. Mahit had written that line as a plea. Now it was an epitaph. Now it was an anthem. Now it was the future, and she had helped make it. She didn't know whether to be proud or horrified. She settled for both and held 3 Seagrass hand and watched the sun rise over the empire she had just helped remake. Episode 6, The Taste of Home. Mahit watched the coronation from a ministry balcony. The city glowed gold and red and imperial purple, blooming. 100,000 sunlit knelt at the new emperor's feet in synchronized waves. 6 Direction's exsanguinated body was interred in the old way. New poets were already being memorized. The protest song was now an elegy released. I am a spear in the hands of the sun, absorbed, metabolized, made imperial. She recognized the absorption for what it was, the city's oldest trick, and felt something she couldn't name yet, anger or admiration or the unsettling knowledge that she'd learned to see it. "You're angry about the song?" Yskandr observed. "I'm watching something I made become something I don't recognize. Welcome to Taish Kalan. This is what it feels like to matter here." On the second day, mass enlistment began. Young Teixkalan Litzlem queued at recruitment stations for a holy war against an enemy the new emperor had described only as an enemy that does not think, does not speak, does not negotiate. Mahit watched a girl no older than 17 receive a shock stick and smile like she'd been handed the universe. How many of them will die? A lot, but you bought them time. Oak. If Teretz's intelligence is good, if the fleet reaches the coordinates in time, they might have a chance. And if it's not, then you've sent a generation of children to die for a bluff. She didn't feel better. The funeral. 12 Azalea's funeral was held in a small sun temple on the third day. The stone walls were worn smooth by centuries of hands. The temple was half empty, his death eclipsed by the emperors, by the coronation, by war mobilization. Colleagues, sea-wrecked siblings, 5 agate, her arm in a sling, standing rigid as a guard who had failed. 3 seagrass, at the front, reading a poem in formal gray. This is a poem about bridges. 12 Azalea liked bridges. He said they were the only infrastructure the city had that didn't try to kill people. Pained laughter rippled. Mahit's throat tightened. 3 seagrass recited, "The arch that holds the weight of crossing is not the stone you see. It is the stone that is not there, the empty space where stone would be if we had built for permanence, instead of letting through the river that will wear us down to something smooth and true." 3 seagrass lowered the paper. Her hand shook. "He was my person. I don't have a poem for that. He was mine, and now he's not, and I'm supposed to go back to work tomorrow." She pressed the paper to her lips, set it on the altar. "Goodbye, Petal. I'll find out who killed you, I promise." Afterward, Mahit found her on the temple steps, staring at nothing. 3 days of barely sleeping, mid-briefing, mid-crisis. "I was offered second undersecretary to the minister," 3 seagrass said without looking up. "Kind of position I told you I wanted." "Vainglorious ambition. I should be thrilled. But you're not. I'm still your cultural liaison, if you want me." Mahit sat beside her. "You don't have to stay out of guilt. That's not what I meant." Offering. Mahit thought about staying, becoming a permanent fixture in the Teixkalanli court, an ambassador who never went home. She remembered 3 seagrass saying, "If you were one of us, I would want you just the same," and felt something crack open. "I had 20 years before it killed me," Yskandr said. "You might get longer." 3. Take the promotion. 3 seagrass turned. Her eyes were red. "Take the vainglorious ambition. Write poems about infrastructure. Get noticed by people who can make you minister someday. You're too good to spend your career holding a barbarian's hand. I like holding your hand." Mahit laced their fingers together. "I know, but if I were one of you, I'm not. I'm never going to be. And I need you in the room where decisions are made. I need someone who remembers Lsel exists, that the alien threat is real. I need you to be second undersecretary, not Mahit Dzmare's keeper. Silence. Recruitment stations processing. A choir singing somewhere. You're going to leave," 3 seagrass said. "Not a question. I think I have to. Will you come back?" Mahit thought of Yskandr. Wad come 15 years ago and never gone home. Wad loved an emperor and an Ezuzuakat and died for it. "I don't know, but her brilliance said she'd send for me, and the universe is getting bigger. The empire won't be the biggest thing in it much longer. Then I'll see you again." 3 seagrass squeezed her hand. "When the universe gets bigger, it'll be there. Second undersecretary, maybe minister by then, maybe emperor. Too much paperwork." She stood, pulling Mahit up. "Come on, if you're going to leave, we do it properly. Tea." Very formal goodbyes that secretly mean something else. They walked toward the ministry, hand in hand. The farewell. She asked to meet 19 ads in a plaza neutral ground, no throne rooms. A sunburst fountain burbled. Children played a game with colored stones. 19 ads arrived without ceremony. White jacket, hair loose, flat sandals. Without the blood, without the knife, she looked almost like the woman Wad offered sanctuary in a shower-steamed bathroom. Mahit bowed the Teixkalanli bow. She was done with symbolic distance. "I've come to ask for a ship. To Lsel I need to go home. Tell my government what happened, not from a coded message, but from someone who was in the room when Sixth Direction died. Someone who can tell them what the new emperor intends. You could tell them from here. I could, but I've been here less than 2 weeks. I've killed a man, had brain surgery, watched an emperor die. I'm carrying my predecessor's memories and his ashes in diplomatic agreements that will define the next century. I need to remember who I am when I'm not fighting for my life. The emperor was silent. The children shouted. Their minders saw 19 adzi and went still. I could refuse, she said. Offer you titles, citizenship, Yskandra's apartment permanently. Is that what you're doing? No. She took Mahit's jaw in her hand, intimate, commanding. I'm telling you I could, and I'm choosing not to. Why? Because you asked. Because you came to a plaza instead of a throne room and told me the truth without making it about leverage. You're not Yskandr. Yskandr would have bargained. You just asked. Is that a bad thing? It's a stationer thing. The emperor released her, brushing hair from Mahit's face. It'll give you your ship. A courier, jump gate priority, a diplomatic pouch full of everything I want Darj Tarats to know. And I will tell you again, if I need you, I will send for you. Do you want me to need you? Mahit thought of Lsel gray corridors, recycled air, the hum of station engines. Her brother, wondering if she was alive. Tarot's decades-long scheme, Amnardbat sabotage. So much to fix, to confront, but also 3 Seagrass's hand. The kiss in the preparation room, slow and tasting of salt. The city at dawn, blooming gold and red and purple. The poetry shed, written without meaning to, become anthem and epitaph. I don't know, but if you send for me, I'll come. 19 ads smiled sad and fierce, then go home. Remember who you are, and when you've remembered, come back and tell me. I want to know. Going home. The courier vessel was small and fast. Mahit watched the city recede, towers, plazas, sun temples, the palace where a 10-year-old clone was being raised to inherit an empire. The oceans gleamed turquoise. The cities sprawled like circuits on a vast circuit board. I never got to see it from this angle, Yskandr said. When I arrived, I was too busy being terrified. When I died, I was too busy dying. This is better. Mahit touched the brass box in her jacket. His ashes, warm from her body. Do you want me to taste them? The rituals say you're supposed to. Make the dead part of you. You already have 2 of me. What would the ashes add? Closer? Closer is takes Galanley. They like neat endings. We're stationers. Nothing ever really ends. She left the box in her pocket. She'd taste them eventually. When she was ready, Lsel Station smelled the same recycled air, machine oil, the tang of water reclamation. The gravity was slightly lighter. The lights were the same muted blue-white. Mahit walked the gangway and felt like a stranger. She knew these corridors. She had grown up in them. But now, Yskandra's memories layered over hers. His memory of the same corridors 15 years ago, the council chamber where Tarats had shown him the star chart, the storage rooms where Amnardbat had smiled and filed her nails to points. Home. It still smells the same. Is that good? I don't know yet. Tarats waited at the end of the gangway, older, more stooped, same dry voice. Ambassador Dzmare, you're back sooner than expected. The emperor changed. The situation changed. We received your messages. You've been busy. You have no idea. He studied her, wondering, she thought, whether Yskandra's ghost was legible in how she stood, how she breathed, how she met his gaze. We have much to discuss. The incursions, the alliance, what happened to Yskandr. Yes, but first Aknal Amnardbat has been removed from the Heritage Council, evidence of sabotage in the storage logs. She's being investigated. Something loosened in Mahit's chest. I want to testify. Everything she did, on the record. Yskandr deserves that. I don't care what I deserve, but yes. I want her to know I know. We can arrange that. After you've rested. I don't need rest. She stopped. What did she need? To sleep for a week. To hold 3 Seagrass's hand again. For enough. To figure out what kind of person she was now, this hybrid creature carrying 2 lifetimes, wad helped kill an emperor and kissed a woman, wad probably be minister someday. I need time, and I need the truth. All of it. Why you sent Yskandr, the scheme, the aliens. Tarats nodded slowly. You've earned that. She walked past him into the station, both home and foreign, carrying the dead in her mind and his ashes in her pocket. Behind her, the courier ships cycled up for departure. Ahead, Lsel, smaller than she remembered, a speck of metal and human stubbornness in the dark between empires. "We're going to have to save them both," Yskandr said. Tayskalan and Lsel. The aliens won't care which is which, I know, but not today. Today, I'm just going to be home. She kept walking. The station swallowed her up. The door closed. Somewhere beyond the jump gate, a three-ringed ship waited, not thinking, not speaking, not negotiating. The war was coming, but not yet. Today, Mahit Dzmare was home. That was enough. Mahit Dzmare chose to go home. She left the city with Yskandr's ashes, and his voice folded into her own consciousness. And she told 19 ads, "Send me home while I still want to go." That word "while" is the novel's most honest admission. She knows the city's pull doesn't weaken with distance. It waits. Understanding why that pull works so precisely requires knowing one thing about the person who built it. Arkady-Martine writes fiction. As Dr. Anna Linden-Weller, she is a historian of the Byzantine Empire and a professional city planner. A city planner studies how infrastructure shapes behavior, how a subway route determines who gathers, how a surveillance algorithm decides who gets stopped. A Byzantine historian studies how empires hold populations that share neither language nor reason to stay loyal. Those disciplines combined produce the Tayskalanli city as it actually functions. Not a painted backdrop, but a continuous, calculating antagonist that Mahit never once escapes. The word for city, world, empire, and universe is the same in Tayskalanli. That is not poetry. That is engineering. The subway AI that trapped 3 seagrass in electrified verse, the sunlit officers moving with algorithm-adjusted synchronization, the cloud hook turning citizens into nodes of an imperial nervous system, the encryption that runs on the season's best poem, it is one machine. 10 Pearl built the algorithm, but the city taught everyone inside it to accept its judgments as natural. The infrastructure is the argument. And Mahit, who studied Tayskalanli poetry as a teenager in a mining station capsule, arrived having already internalized half that argument before she stepped off the ship. The novel's real subject, what it feels like to love a culture that is devouring your own lands harder once you see that Martin designed the city to be lovable on purpose. Its poetry is intricate. Its rituals are seductive. 3 Seagrass's confession, "I like aliens," costs something to make, and Mahit recognizes the cost because she has been paying her own version of it for years. The tragedy is not that the city is monstrous. The tragedy is that it is not monstrous enough to make the choice easy. She reversed the lens. Instead of writing from the perspective of the person who stays, watching the empire annex everything familiar, she wrote from the perspective of the person sent into the machine who discovers to her something worse than fear, that the machine feels like home. The novel refuses to resolve the tension between loving a system and declining to be absorbed by it. Mahit is on the ship back to Lsel. The annexation fleet has been rerouted. The alien threat is massing, and 1980's now Emperor has promised to call if she needs her. 3 Seagrass has taken the promotion. 12 Azalea is dead, his name circulating in a poem that may become a protest song in Plaza's Mahit will never see. On Lsel Station, Aknal Amnardbat, the counselor who sabotaged the Imago machine, is waiting to explain why she thought damaging Mahit was an act of patriotism. None of these conversations will be easy. Mahit carries both Yskandrs, and both Yskandrs loved the city, and now she has to figure out what remaining herself means when half her consciousness remembers wanting to stay. She has not solved the problem. She has only chosen, for now, which side of the jump gate she will stand on. The algorithm is still running, the city is still hungry. What Martin built is not a warning, but a description. Empires function by making themselves indispensable to the people they intend to consume. Love is not a flaw in that system. Love is how the system operates. Mahit's achievement is not that she stopped loving Tayskalan, she didn't, but that she learned to see the machinery behind the beauty and still act. The city will call her back eventually, and when it does, she will have to decide again.